Hey fellow golfers, I thought I would follow up the clip that I did which compared the swings of Bryson DeChambeau and Victor Hovland not so long ago. You'll see a link up above and also in the description to take a look at it. It seemed to be very popular. To do one of two other great young players and look at a comparison of their swings. Matthew Wolff came second in the US Open most recently, and another great young player, Sanjay. So let's start with the setup. Let's look at Matthew Wolff. You'll see that his setup is somewhat relaxed. His stance is shut, and he has a little jiggle of his hips as a trigger for his swing. Sanjay, on the other hand, has a forward bend. He seems to put his weight on his toes, and he sort of has an S-shaped bend of his spine. Presumably that's something to do with his body shape. If you look at the takeaway of Matthew Wolff, his toe of his club is somewhat down. He has a square path. His hands is more into his body, and his arms go away. Sanjay, his club is inside his lead arm. He under rotates, and he has a gentle hip bump. Let's move to the top of the backswing. You will see that Matthew Wolff has his hands well above his swing plane. He has a big hip rotate. He lifts his lead foot, much like in the last clip on Jack Nicklaus, and his right leg is firm and straight. So he uses that as a pivot. In Sanjay Im's case, his top of his backswing is over his trail shoulder. He has a similar back foot firm on the ground. So what you see with all the great pros is their back foot is quite firm and straight, allowing them to have that pivot, and of course before they shift their weight onto the front foot as they begin their downswing. Matthew Wolff on the downswing, he plants his left heel firmly on the ground. Remember, as he was doing the takeaway, he was lifting his front heel. So he's planting his front heel to give him that power move. His knees and legs flex and bend. He uses a squat power, and he has a flat wrist. He uses his legs to give him power. Once again, if you look at the tips from Jack Nicklaus, he said drive with your legs. He plants his left heel firmly into the ground as he begins his downswing. He squats. His knees and hips flex. He uses that squat power, and he has a flat wrist, and he uses his legs to drive through. Sanjay also moves his power and mass onto that front foot. He has a side bend, and he rotates open as he swings through. Let us look at the impact position. So in Matthew Wolff's case, his toes are closed, his pelvis is unwound, his shoulder is square, but his hips are wide open, 45 degrees. In Sanjay Im's case, what's noticeable is that on impact, he's holding his shaft up. So that's very interesting. He has a more upright angle as he comes down onto impact. Let's look at the finish. In Matthew Wolff's case, his shoulder has rotated 90 degrees, but he stays fully balanced, as all the good pros do. In Sanjay Im's case, of course, he also has a very balanced finish, but he has very high finish. So it's very interesting. He goes very high in his finish, but it still remains balanced. So the key, if you follow all the different pro swings in the finish, is they finish very balanced, and they complete their swing either rotating open or, in the case of Sanjay, swinging up high. Hope these few comparisons of two great young golfers who will be around for many more years to come has been interesting for you. Inevitably, what all these different swings show, and I'll do a few more, so stay tuned, do subscribe, put the notifications on, give me a like. You will see different varied swings, slightly different quirks in each swing. So Matthew Wolff's jiggle of his hips at the beginning, the more upright position of Sanjay Im, and the high finish. Others rotate more, yet their results are equally good. So it tells you that if you have particular quirks in your swing, don't worry about it. It's really that you have a proper impact. You are getting the maximum possible power you can give it, given your swing and your body. And there are different ways to achieve that. It's the result at the end of the day that counts. There's a few key points to keep in mind, which I've covered in various tips that I've showed you, not least the most recent one, the 10 top tips from Jack Nicklaus. Do take a look at that. See you on the flip side.